I have experienced the highs and lows of this life in equal measure. From being a lecturer to being a prisoner in the United States of America. My name is Judith Akinyi, aka Saga, and this is my story.
Life presents a myriad of choices, and every choice has a long afterlife of consequences. Our life's direction is a product of a choice we once made, impacting us negatively or positively. Grace Judith Akinyi, a mother, a former lecturer at Kenya Polytechnic, an ex-wife and an ex-convict, has lived the dire consequences of a choice she once made.
I went through courtship and I had suitors here and there, but I went for the one that my heart desired. This guy, as we normally say, tall, dark and handsome, blew me off my feet, and as much as my parents were apprehensive about my relationship with him, as I said, I had other suitors who were also interested in marriage with me, but I really just wanted this one. And I thought my love would blossom with him. I saw my future with him. My mother kind of was not very positive about this particular one that I loved. But maybe ni nani, I went for him. We got married, and God blessed us with children, beautiful children, boys and girls. And somewhere within the marriage, things started going wrong. And I started noticing a lot of things that I had not known before. I had then discovered that he had other affairs before me, and children were also involved, and he never told me. I ignored the first one, I ignored the second, but then it never stopped. Eventually, he stopped taking care of us, the children. He started disappearing from home without explanation. He was a doctor, and being a doctor, I think he could escape with a lot of excuses before it hit me that something was wrong, because he would say, I'm on call, I will sleep at the hospital, I'll not be home. But these things you'll always get to know. I then later discovered he was having affairs here and there, and lack of providing for us hit me so hard, because remember I told you I was the only child, and I was not used to lacking in my life. And when we started lacking in a way that my children would not get what they were used to, he was so used to taking us out on weekends. Then these other weekends, kids would ask me, oh, mommy, where's daddy? I had no explanation. It's very hard to tell your children that your father is having another affair or another family or things like that. So as a mother, you suffer with these things. Remember, my mother did not want me to get married to this man. So going back to her, to tell her that, Mama, I'm going through this, was so hard for me. I just wanted to solve it on my own. Or rather, maybe I thought it will pass. But then again, these other stories of he was here, he got a child with this one, he was this other side, he got another child with this one. These things disturbed me a lot.
While trying to scrap for a solution, Grace decided to confide in a newly found friend.
This friend, we lived in the same estate. She was, her brother was a tenant of ours, because my parents had houses for rent. So she used to come to visit her brother. And I would admire her so much because she was elegant, smart. She used to change her cars. And naturally we became friends, because as she came to visit, I would see her, she would see me, and she had a salon just nearby. And she invited me to be going for my hair at her salon. And one day I just decided to tell her, because in my mind, I told myself that since this guy is not providing for us as he used to before, maybe I should look for a side hustle.
Their friendship was fast tightening, and before long, her friend introduced Grace to her business as a side hustle.
She just advised me to give her some money, the much I could, so that she would invest for me, and when the returns come, it would come with my profit. And I said, how easy. I would still be working, and she would be doing for me the turnover with my money on the other side and just giving me my interest. So the kind of money she asked for, I didn't have then. Remember, I was still going through stuff at home. So I had to take a loan. I took a loan of then Kenya shillings 200,000. That time, that was a lot of money. And she was to go, I think within 2 weeks, whoever or however she does it, that was not even my interest then. My interest was, do the business, get me my interest, give me my money. I went to her office. She had an office near the University of Nairobi then, where she had a very big salon. And I took the money to her, and she said, good, after 2 weeks, you come, check, you will get your money and you'll get your interest. And if you like, you can turn over again. And I said, wow, how nice. With this, I will be able to probably leave this man's house and rent my own place and still be comfortable with my children. We'll be going out. I can afford to fuel my car. We can do everything just as normal. So I waited. 2 weeks came and left. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. I became so frantic. I would go to her office from work, and she would act like I was bothering her. Then eventually she allowed me in, and she told me, you know what? That person that I sent disappeared with the money. I've not heard from them. They have not come back. So instead of you just losing out like that, I want to arrange for you to go yourself. That way we are sure that nothing will get lost because you will be involved. And so, who was I to say no? I didn't think of anything beyond that. At least I'll recover my money and I'm going myself. Now I will really know what how the business is done. So she organized for me to travel. She arranged for a ticket, a passport, and within a short time, I was ready to travel.
Just before the travel day, a ritual was performed that left Grace lost of words.
So I went to her office, and from her office, I think it was her and her sister, and we left sometime. I think it must have been in the evening. It's many years now. It was evening, I think. So we left her office and we went. And I don't know, it could have been somewhere around Eastlands area from my memory. And I don't know which estate exactly we went to. And we went into a house. And I remained in the car because I had no business going to this house. But her and her sister, they went in. And then later on, they asked me to come. And when I went to this house, there was no furniture. I didn't need anyone to tell me that this was a witch doctor's place. So we sat here, and a lot of things were done. I sat I was beckoned to sit in one stool. I sat in this stool, and it's like, I don't know whether I was hypnotized, because from there on, anything this woman said, I just did. And at some time, I feel as if probably I collapsed from the seat. And when she now beckoned me to rise up, I did. And I sat again. And I don't know whether I came back to my senses. And they now talked in their language. And after that, they said, we are through, we can go. And when we were going towards the car, she said, now you know your journey will be so safe. Everything will be okay. And just like a foolish person, I didn't ask, where were we? Why did we go there? No. I went, and she also told me, don't tell your husband. You know, men are bad omen. When you want to travel to go and make money, don't tell men. Men, they're just bad omen. And you know my state of mind with my man now. I'll say, yeah, for sure, this is a bad omen. See what he has put me through. I'm going through so much. But I also went to tell my mom. Remember, my mom was ailing. So I would not tell her that I was going far. I went and told her, I'm going to the village. No, shall go. And my husband, as much as we were not in good terms, he would probably come after a day or two from his escapades rather, and find that I was not home. So I told him I was going to the village as well. My mother, I'm going to the village, my husband's village. My husband, I'm going to the village, my parents' village. So now I changanyad these two, so that nobody will bother asking where have I gone, why. Because I want to go and make money and just prove to these people that I can do without them, you know, my husband especially.
A cunning plan was fast drafted, and 2 days later, Grace was on her way to Pakistan.
I did not even ask her that in Pakistan, which gemstones are bought in Pakistan. You know, if it were now, I would ask, Pakistan, gemstones, where, how? But no. So I went, and I arrived in Pakistan. She had given me the itinerary, how you will go, how when you arrive, call this person, they will come for you. So I left and I went. And when I arrived, I found her, whoever she had asked me to meet had come to take me from the airport. So she took me from the airport, took me to her house. A young girl like this, she could have been in her 20, 26, 28 like this. So when I arrived, I got into the house. A gentleman opened for us the door, but he didn't allow me to see his face. You know, someone who opens for you and angalia chin is just facing down. Anyway, it hit me, but then again I ignored. I said, after all, I've arrived. She said only a few days and I'll be home. I think I was supposed to be there for 3 or 4 days. And that was the beginning of a traumatic experience.
Her travel documents were confiscated. In unfamiliar territory, Grace felt so lost.
During my stay here, I could hear people come and go. People would come and go. It was a very busy house, but I was not allowed to see anyone. And she would bring for me food in the room. And I would not even ask myself, why can't we go out? You know, I was just in. Then I said, 2-3 days, it will be over and I'll go. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months. And you know, I think I traveled around September. Either late August or September, we were opening college, I think early September. I then told her, man, I was supposed to be here for only 4 days. Schools are opening. At home, they don't know that I'm far away like this. Everyone will start looking for me. The college, I will be dismissed. I need to go home. She told me, no, you cannot travel now. I asked her why. Your auntie, that was her auntie, told me that I would be here for only 4 days. I need to go back. I have a young child. My people don't know where I am. My mother is sick. She'll be worried to death. She said no. I told her, can I talk to her auntie? She said no. Here you cannot, people don't use phones in my house. I said no. Then just let me go. I don't need to go with anything. Just let me go. Because I don't want to lose my job. I have a son who is still breastfeeding. She said no. Why I never thought of screaming or, running out of this house or even shouting when those people came, till today, I've never understood. But I stayed. I stayed until I started having bad nightmares. I would dream of snakes choking me. I would, just nightmares. And I was thin because eating was also a problem. Then one day she came to the room and she told me, do you know why you're here? And I said, no. I only know that I came to collect gemstones, that my money was part of it. In the first round, your auntie told me that the person never came, the goods. So I'm here for that. She said, no. Do you know my auntie very well? I said, I cannot say I know her well, but I know that she's a friend of mine and that her brother is our tenant. And she said, have you been to her office? I said, yes, severally. Do you see the kind of people who come to her office? I said, yes. And indeed, she was connected, highly connected then.
At that point, it dawned on her that her friend was one of the biggest drug barons in the country. Grace was convinced beyond any doubt that she had been set up for a drug trafficking syndicate.
I had never seen drugs in my life. Even in the estate where we lived, there was nothing like drugs. Not the way it is these days. Those years, who even knew about cocaine, heroin? I don't know. Nobody. Myself, no. If there are people who knew me, no. And she told me, this is what you have come for. After 3 months, this girl comes to my room and says, today you can leave. Believe me, whether it was carrying those drugs, whether it was through which way, I wanted just to leave. So she gave me a suitcase and a bag that were laced with drugs. And I just wanted nothing but to get out of that place so that I could see my children, my parents. Work, I knew it's already gone. They don't tell you anything. They don't prepare you for anything. Even knowing that you're so green, you don't know anything in this business. I expect that someone would tell you that this is likely to happen, this and this is likely to happen, so that you're prepared. No. It's you and your God.
Grace thought that her dream of reuniting with her family was finally here. Early the following day, she bid her host goodbye and was escorted to the airport. Her heart was elated and she looked forward to landing home safely. Her story continues after the break.
FamilyNews.Today provides an escape room from the clutter through our podcasts, from church escapades
get disappointed with God. And I think it's a misplaced anger.
to daily devotionals,
The beauty about God's love is that it was focused on all that God had.
to financial and life tips, bedtime stories for your child. All these and much more available just for you on FamilyNews.Today on Spotify, Google Podcast, and SoundCloud. Insights at your fingertips.
Grace was handed her luggage, which she knew very well had been laced with drugs. While in the taxi, so many images were replaying in her mind, but the eagerness of seeing her family kept her heart at peace. They finally got to the airport, and upon seeing the police officers, her astonishment almost betrayed her.
I panicked and I said, as much as I didn't know so much, and I didn't even know the gravity of the problem I was carrying, that if you're arrested, you can be in jail for so many years. No idea. If I tell you at that time, I didn't even know that there is prison where women go to. I only knew only men go to prison. I was so naive. I know it would be hard for one to believe, but I had no idea. So I'd never visited any of my relatives in prison, none. And when I saw all these women and men, I panicked and I left the suitcase. When it, when the way they tag your, nikaachana nayo. Then I had this bag, which also had some drugs. So nikasema, I can't drop this because all my documents are here. So I went and I checked in. Of course, we went somewhere and they were checking us, but they allowed me to get inside the plane. So when I got to JKI, I found, as I was still sitting inside the plane, 2 officers entered. And they called me by name. By the name that was used in that passport. Remember, my own passport, alikuwa amebaki nayo, she was left with it. She had put my photo in somebody else's passport. And they called again and they were looking at me and it's like I came back to my senses. And I said yes. And they told me, come with us. So I followed them. That is the day I knew there's a police place right inside the airport. I think the immigration place. So they took me inside and they told me that we want you to tell us the truth. What do you have? I didn't even think twice. I just told them everything as it was, except mentioning the name of this woman. Because I had been so scared by the niece telling me how dangerous she was. If I didn't comply, I can even lose my life. Who wanted to die? Not me.
Grace was sure that after telling her side of the story at the airport, she would be let go to her family to celebrate Christmas together the next day. Her patience ran out after waiting for hours in the cells, only to be slapped by the reality.
And they said, Madam, do you have a lawyer? I said, lawyer? For what? They said, now this case is very serious. You are not leaving anytime soon. You will be arraigned in court and it will depend with the magistrate. This is a very grievous crime you have committed, so you are not leaving. Do you have anyone you can call? And I said, what? I'm not leaving. Tomorrow is Christmas. I'm not seeing my children, I'm not seeing my mother. Okay, it started sinking on me. Then a lady police came and talked to me and said, Madam, the only thing that will help you now is if you call whoever is close to you to come you will need a lawyer so that you are represented in court. So I told them it was late. I told them now it's late. The only person you can call is my mother, and she is ailing. By this time, my father had long passed away. He had died like 10 years before. So I said, she's sick, so when you talk to her, please be careful, because I would not like to lose her. She loves me so much, and this will shock her. So they said, okay. And they went and called my mom, I think the following morning. Her joy was that her daughter was alive. But what? At Jomo Kenyatta Airport? With drugs? How? What happened? She came to the airport. You can imagine what took place. We cried and cried and cried for hours on end before I could even explain. And she told me, my daughter, I knew that you are not okay. Why didn't you tell me?
This marked the beginning of a long journey to freedom. Early the next morning, Grace was introduced to the justice system in the Kibra law courts.
I met people here on the queue. You know, you queue outside the court when you're from the cell. So there are men from committee, there are those who have just freshers from the police station like us, then there are women also from Langata, and they are fresh from the police cells, so you're all there. And for some reason, they picked on me to ask me, why are you here? I don't know whether I looked so naive or so different, I don't know. But the men were asking, the women were asking, Madam, kwa nini? Why? Of course, I was much younger than now. So, and I looked so green. and I told them, this is what happened. And they say, why don't you say the person who put you through this? I was still scared. And then the men would say, you know, they have experience. So they would tell me, where's your lawyer? I say, I've not seen any lawyer. My mom was supposed to come here with a lawyer. I can't see them. They, on the other side, they are waiting for me at the High Court because the policeman told them would be at the High Court. So my turn to enter arrives, and these people have really taught me out here. These false judges and magistrates out here, and lawyers. They've told me, if you get in, don't try to say what you said. How could you even write that you were the one with these things? Just go and say no. Say no. If they say guilty or not guilty, if you plead guilty, you'll be in jail for the rest of your life. Did I want to stay in jail for the rest of my life? No. So when I went in, I said, what do? I have no lawyer, I don't know what to say. So the magistrate read the charges, and as they had told me, because I thought these ones know more than me, I said, I'm not guilty. And probably that also saved me, because it gave time for the lawyers to look for me and find how they could defend me. So the journey to Langata Women's Prison started.
Langata Women Prison was another phase of life Grace had never thought of.
The cell that I was taken to was Ward 2. They call them wards. In Ward 2, I remember I stood at the door. You stand at the door. You have come in with others who are already used to that place. So they go to their mattresses. There are no beds. Were those even mattresses, or they were mats then? They go to where they belong, and you stand there, you don't know where to go. So everybody from the corner, every corner. This room is one block, one room like this, which my understanding is supposed to hold about 40 people. But you're about 70 or 80 in there.
Life became a living nightmare for Grace, owing to the fact that she hadn't seen her children for months. Trips to the courts were frequent as her fate was determined.
Eventually, the judge found me guilty, and I was sentenced to 11 years.
Grace soon got accustomed to the hard life in prison.
We could only read the Holy Bible. the Swahili Bible and the small Old Testament Bible. Those were the only reading materials. Radio was abomination. There was one that was operated from the duty officer's office, and we could only listen to Pius Moiru and Family TV. I was lucky because I was made in charge. I was like the prefect of the cell. So when you are the prefect, you escape a lot of bad things. When beatings come, it would come for the others. So life went on like that. I witnessed a lot of my friends getting sick and dying.
The horrible experiences traumatized Grace, and she decided to document some of the remarkable occurrences.
So I started writing these things so that one day I will not forget, on tissue paper. I wrote on toilet paper and I would hide, because if they find this also, you're in dire trouble.
Prison reforms initiated by Ankomudi Awori brought a sigh of relief to the inmates, and Grace found her footing.
When Ankomudi came with his reforms, a lot of changes came in. I'm sure you saw the prison catwalks. There was an officer called Madam Wanini Kireri. She trusted me so much. She made me head all those programs, and they were successful.
As Grace was serving her jail term in prison, her perpetrator's business was booming. 4 years later, the long arm of the government caught up with the drug queen.
Rumor came that, hey, there's a lady that has come. She came, the vehicles were in sirens, and she's got money, and the money that she's even, signed in there as pocket money is no joke. I said, who is this? Then from the description and from what she had been arrested for, I learned that she was the one. And then I spoke to an officer, because remand prison and the main prison are not at the same area. They are a few meters apart. So I asked for permission to go and see her, because I wanted to know why she put me through this and why she dumped me. And she told me, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, my sister. I know that even me, it's just people who are after me. And very soon I'll be out of this, and I'll bail you out. I'll need only 200,000 or 300,000 shillings, and you'll be out of this. And I told her, my friend, it's too late. I've already been here 4 years, going to 5. It's only God who will get me out of this place. I already got a sentence of 11 years. I don't know if I'll survive it. If I do, by the grace of God, I've forgiven you. But never do this to anyone else.
The drug queen's cover was blown off when another victim of the syndicate was also arrested in the United States of America. One day, some visitors came looking for Grace in the prison.
Then I see these people. Of course, the American accent and all of that. I said, what is this? So they told me, we know you don't know us, we are so and so, we have been told about you, and we want you to help us. Remember, at the airport, in my writings, I did not mention this woman anywhere. It is her person who she sent to the US who talked about me, because he knew my innocence. And I was surprised, because I said, I never talked about this woman anywhere. How did these people know about me? And then they told me. And they told me, if you cooperate with us, we'll ask the Kenya government to set you free. Who doesn't want to be free? I was there 4 years for something that if I thought probably wisely, I wouldn't have been there. So I told them, if my truth will help set someone free, also one day, then I will go with the truth. I did not confess this in court here, but I'm willing to tell you the truth that you have been told by somebody else. By this time, I've been promoted, I'm living nicely, I have a television, I have newspapers, I eat so well. And it reminded me of the story of Joseph and his brothers, because I was now her boss. Remember, out here, she was my everything. I would see her and say, wow, I wish I could live like her. But in prison here, now she cannot eat this bad food. So I'm the one who probably go to the kitchen, and my friends would tell me, no, don't give her good food. Let her eat that bad one. I said, no, you don't pay evil for evil. Just let's give her what we eat. And after, I think, I can't remember well, but after 2-3 weeks or a month, she was extradited to the US. And when these people came and I accepted, they also organized for my going to the US as a witness.
Being the first Kenyan inmate to travel to the United States of America as a state witness, Grace was eager to taste freedom once more.
Where I was kept, compared with where I was coming from, my friend, I was in a 5-star. In the morning, tea or coffee, milk, my goodness. I said, wow, lunchtime, chicken or beef. And remember the food that I've left down here? I have a remote, I have a bathroom with a warm shower. Remember the kasuku that I've left behind? Hey, no, Arlington was good. I looked and I said, why this difference? Maybe God, you have put me all through all this, probably to bring a difference or to talk about it so that one day someone in position will know that we don't really need to be so backwards. Maybe one day someone somewhere who is charged with these things will look and say, even if people have done wrong, we only need to correct them, not to punish them. I went to court 3 or 4 times. And there was my friend right in front of me. And I was not the only witness. The FBIs were able to collect almost 50 witnesses. I was not alone. And she was found guilty and she was jailed for 24 years. And after that, I came back home.
When Grace landed back home, she received the devastating news of her mother's demise.
It was so painful. I lost her when I was still in prison. And it took me a long time to forgive myself, because I blamed myself so much that probably if I was around, she would be living till today. But as fate had it, that's how it is. But luckily again, I was the first person to be allowed to go to the mortuary and see my dead before she was buried as a prisoner.
In 2008, the appeal for her release was granted, and soon Grace was out of the high prison walls.
My children were so anxious to meet me, but I had made a covenant with God that when I leave this place, I want to go somewhere and pray for 3 or 4 days before I go home. So I went to a prayer center somewhere, was it in Kiambu? And I prayed and I thanked God, and I asked him to guide my steps all through. And then I went home, and my children were happy, and my people were happy. And I'm glad that I was received well. And when after 2 years, I think I started working with the various organizations. I went to Nakada, I was trained. We used to traverse this country, go to places, talk to people about the dangers of alcoholism, drug and substance abuse, and all that happened to me. It was a testimony.
Now happily united with her children, Grace is grateful to God for His mercies and for allowing her to learn from her mistakes. She started Prison Ministries, where she reaches out to inmates all over the country.
I go to prisons a lot to encourage the prisoners, to give them hope, and to tell them that God is a God of second chance, and they should not allow anyone to define their destiny. Your destiny is in your hands, and it is defined by God and God only.
Grace is doing everything possible to save her generation from the deadly money-making scams.
Anyone looking for a side hustle, make sure it is legit. Make sure it's legitimate. Hata ukiambiwa ni legitimate, because people will come to you with fox skins. verify from 1 or 2 people. And usiwe na tamaa sana ya pesa. If you have an income the way I did, I could have probably survived on that income. I would have just lowered my standards. Na bado ningekaa tu. Hata ningeenda kwa kijiji na ningekaa tu. Don't look for quick money. It's never paying in the end. Look, I lost 7 years. 7 years is not a short time. See the things that I saw, what I went through. So wamama, wasichana, vijana, especially that business of sijui drugs, wash, sijui nini, those quick money things, forget.
Grace is a testament of how precious jewels are tested through the fire. If you have a story you'd like to share with us, kindly text us on 20316 or WhatsApp on 0786 316 316 and we will get back to you.